in the snow and those froze again. So it has like their barefoot footprints walking down the hill. They can tell that they walked based on their like stride length, and they walked single file down the hill.
Oh.
Every single like telling of this story has always seemed like they freaked out and ran all in different directions, but they all walked straight down the hill, and supposedly one person was wearing boots. And it seemed like what they were doing was like one person, like they would walk and then one person would step to the side and then get back in. And I don't know if they were like trading who had to be the leader or something, but every once in a while there was one person, like you could see them kind of veer off to the side and stop and then get back in line.
That's very weird.
I know, I've never heard that before. I was like, wait, this changes everything. As far as, like, a lot of the theories rely on them freaking out and running. And they didn't run, they walked. They walked barefoot.
Yeah, I thought they scattered and ran.
No scattering.
Spooking or something.
I know!
But, so, I knew they were barefoot, but they can't find their shoes anywhere? Like,
their shoes were in the tent.
Found them? Oh, okay. Yeah, they just left them.
Except one boot was on one person.
Why one boot? That's so weird.
I don't know.
They're trading off the boot to be in line together.
Yes.
That does change a lot.
It does.
Okay.
So the next one found, which was 300 meters away from the tree, was Igor Dyatlov, who was 23. He was a fifth-year radio engineering student and was a talented engineer and designed and assembled his own radio, which he used on hikes, except that would have been like 100 pounds. Like, also, radios were illegal to have at that time. Like, he made an illegal radio that he used to bring on hikes with him, which would have been like 100 pounds, and he would carry it around. So I don't know, that was weird.
It's very strong.
But kind of cool to have a radio, but also, why did he need a radio?
Yeah.
And he had also designed a stove that they used to heat the tent. And it was like, they would argue against who had to sleep next to the stove because it was so hot. It took like over an hour to set up. Like, they weren't cold in the tent.
Yeah.
They were definitely not like freezing in the tent, which also doesn't make sense as to why they would leave the tent, because the tent wasn't cold. Like, it was, the stove was all set up and there was wood in the stove, but they never started it.
That's also, really weird.
Right. And it took them an hour to set it up. Like, they would like time themselves to see who could set it up the fastest. It was like a race.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. So he was found 300 meters from the tree, headed back towards the direction of the tent. Like, he was going back to the tent. And he was dressed very lightly, no shoes, and he was wearing a knitted vest that Yudin said that he left to him. Well, that he left to Kolovatov, but he took it later, so... A stolen vest, and he supposedly died of hypothermia, but his knuckles were bruised, and he also had some other injuries. Like, he definitely didn't necessarily, he died of hypothermia, but he had a lot of other injuries that looked like he had been in a bar fight basically before this. And it's hard to tell if that was just from falling face first into the snow, which a lot of people don't think so. Like, if you look at the all the like medical, the autopsies have been released, and it just doesn't seem like that's really what it was from. I didn't read the autopsies because that seemed like a lot.
Yeah.
But
okay.
They do exist if you're interested.
I might look at it later, but...
Right? There's like a lot more... There's a lot of like documentation that goes with this case.
Yeah. That's good they've released most of it, too.
Yes. And he planned this whole trip. This was like his trip that he was leading, and he was known to be kind of like a strict leader, and would often like make them do like extra stuff as an added challenge that they could include in their little certifications. because they needed, like, well documented, they did this, they did this, they did, like, a list of criteria that they had to meet. So he was all into that, which I think would annoy me so much.
Yeah, but it's nice, I guess, that he did the work and the others could just get certified, I guess.
Right. And he was, like, low-key in love with Zina. But she was still in love with Yuri Doroshenko.
Yeah.
I guess.
Classic.
I know. She has no idea because she only has eyes for Yuri.
Yeah.
So sad. And the next to be found was Zina. I'm not even going to try the last name. We've heard it a few times. I can't do it. Who was 22. And she was also a fifth-year radio engineering student and an experienced hiker. Once she was bitten by a snake, and despite her pain, she refused to lighten her load because she didn't want anyone else to have to carry it.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of people really liked her. Like, everyone loved Zina. When she was at the school that they had stopped into on the beginning of their trip, like, all the kids were so attached to her.
No.
And it's sad. I know.
That is sad.
And she was 630 meters away from the tree in the same line, like, towards the tent.
Wow, okay.
So Dyatlov was, like, behind her by 300 meters.
Huh.
And she was, like, way better dressed than the other hikers that were found at this point because she was one of the few, like, the first ones found.
Oh.
But still no shoes. And she also supposedly died of hypothermia, but she had, like, a huge bruise that went from, like, her waist down to her stomach. Like, I heard it described as, like, she had been hit with a baton, like, this long bruise. And I know she had other, like, bruises and stuff, and that she probably also fell in the snow. But one of the other things that almost all of the hikers had abrasions on their eyelids, and they think that might have been from being blindfolded.
Oh.
But also, like, think about, like, ice pelting you in the face. Like, I don't know how hard the ice was pelting, but a lot of people think that it was from being, like, really tightly blindfolded.
I mean, I feel like ice definitely, like, if it's snowing, that hurts too.
Right.
I don't know. But okay.
And then the next person they found was Rustem Slobodin, and they called him Rustic.
That's a good
I don't know
name.
why.
He's mountainous. Yeah. Oh, I guess, is rustic like rugged?
Rustique? I don't know. But he was 23. Yeah, rustic is like mountain.
Yeah.
And he had graduated the year before and was working at Enterprise P.O. Box 10.
Okay. Whoa. So exciting.
Which I wish I knew what that meant. I know someone else explained it, but I forgot to write it down.
To me, it sounds like the post office.
No, it was some secret government thing. I want to say they might have made atomic bombs.
Oh.
Or small engine. He, like, worked for the center of small machines or something, but those small machines were bombs. Like, they have all these, like, really innocuous names for... Like, they called nuclear science metallurgy.
Oh.
Which you would not guess.
No.
That's, like, what they were going for.
Okay.
And he often played the mandolin on his hikes. And his mandolin was found in the cache. They said, no more. Like, you can't take it. It's too heavy.
Yeah, I could see that.
And he was found between Zina and Dyatlov. Like, he was at 480 meters, kind of in that same line. So I don't know how they found the other two first.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yes.
Yeah, he's literally right there.
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, these are meters, so...
Oh.
Times 3 feet-ish.
But if you're in the same line...
I know. They should have found him.
Yeah.
And he was also better dressed than the other hikers. But he had one, like, felt boot, which I consider, like, a thick sock. Like, it didn't have a sole. It was like a boot liner, I guess I would probably call it.
Yeah.
On his right foot. And he died of hypothermia, a fractured skull, multiple areas of edema, which I assume is, like, swelling or, like, bruising, and abrasions on his face and arms.
A lot happened to him.
And they'll tell you he fell in the snow.
Fractured skull?
I know.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And, like, I want to say on a lot of these people, there was, like, compared to their injuries, they did not have the bruising that you would expect to see.
Oh.
Which makes me wonder if they were already dead, because a dead body doesn't bruise. But that's possible.
Yeah.
So that was, like, the first group of people that they found, right? They ended up finding 4 or 5 more.
4 more.
4 more, yeah. 4 more in a ravine in the opposite direction of the tent from the cedar. Like, they all were at the cedar tree, and there was evidence that all of them were at the cedar tree. These 4 had, like, continued past the cedar tree and were in a ravine. That wasn't super deep, but it did exist. Like, they were down, and there's a creek running through the ravine, so when they found their bodies, like, they had been... For example, Luda, who is next, Luda Dubinina, who was 20 and the youngest of the group. She was found, like, face down in the water.
Oh.
So some of her injuries, it's hard to tell if that was because of her positioning or if it had been done before.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yes, right. She was the youngest, and she was a engineering and economics major, and she was very into communism, a stark communist, allegedly. And she was a good photographer. I heard she was lippy, like, she was kind of sassy and would talk back.
Well, I feel like that makes sense for the youngest of the group.
I know, and she was a girl hiker. Like, in general, I feel like you have to be pretty tough. And one time she got shot in the leg by a hunter, and she just, like, apologized the whole time for everyone having to carry her out, and, like, smiled and joked the whole way.
Wow.
Yes.
Dude, I feel like Russian women are, like, really built tough.
I know. Also, like, she's doing, like, man stuff in the, like, late 50s. Like, in general, and going to college in the late 50s. Like, in general, she's not a housewife.
Right, yeah.
So she was found in the ravine, 75 meters from the tree. Straight line from the tent, but past the tree. So she was found with her foot wrapped in Krivonashenko's underwear. Just one foot. And she was wearing a brown sweater that was more than likely Krivonashenko's, that was radioactive. And Thibault was wearing her hat, coat, and her gloves were crumpled in the pocket. And those were also radioactive.
Oh. That's very weird.
Maybe. I think.
Okay.
But it's just weird that he would have been wearing her stuff, because they were, like, found together, so she must have died first.
Yeah, but why would he not put the gloves on?
I don't know. Stupid.
Well, I guess if you're already starting to be hyperthermic, you're not really thinking about...
Right, that's true.
But yeah.
Or maybe his hands were just too big.
Oh, that's true too.
But she had major chest fractures, and I want to say one source said that she had a rib through her heart. And, like, no bruising. Like, she was messed up and not, like, really bruised that much. Her tongue, eyes, and part of her lips were missing, and a piece of her skull bone was also missing. But again, she was found face down in water that
Okay.
was running because it was the thaw.